41 maps, hundreds of tricks, one video. These are Anran tips, flanks, and shortcuts for every single map in the game. You will not believe some of the insane things I discovered. I highly recommend watching the entire video to maximize your enjoyment and give you the best possible advantage. This is the biggest and best project I've ever worked on this channel, and as such, it would really mean the world to me if you could show your support through likes, comments, and of course, hitting that free subscribe button. More amazing videos, including an advanced on-ride guide, still to come. Enjoy. Aatlis. Aatlis has many different control points, but on this one in particular, all I could really find is this. If you're coming from over here, you can jump over this rooftop onto the unsuspecting sniper or support. On the central interior objective of Aatlis, all you can really do is remember that you can just hop up on any of these platforms very easily. For this objective, if you want to go all out, you can just surprise them by jumping over this rooftop, hitting your ult, and deleting everything in sight.
Maybe try a little harder.
Alternatively, on the last objective, if your team is being held right at this choke point, you can just kind of ignore that and jump over this roof. So to land on their heads. And then not miss all your shots. Like so. Blizzard World. Blizzard World has a lot more options. On first point, if you're attacking, you can pop up on this side where they can't quite see you, land on their head, do some damage, and then run away.
Oh, I got overwhelmed.
And the cool thing about Blizzard World is you can basically chain across every high ground on first point. You start here, do a little killing, boom, 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 and then you can run away to the next high ground. You can kill them from here, wherever they happen to be standing. You can run to the next high ground, and basically just never stop moving and be an absolute menace. And my personal favorite, once you get to the payload section and the team is holding you off at that choke point, you can literally just jump over this entire roof. And land on their heads. And once you move a little bit farther along, if they're holding this high ground and causing problems for you, you just retreat, let your team soak up the damage, and fly over the top. Oh shoot, I died.
Hee.
On the last objective of Blizzard World, unfortunately, you just barely can't make it over this roof. However, if you happen to be starting from up here, you can use one of your dashes to get up here, do some fighting, and then while you wait for the cooldown to come back, you can come around here, and now jump over the roof, and land on whoever's down here. Busan Downtown. In this section of Busan, there's not a whole lot you can do, but really it's these high grounds that matter the most. Coming out of your own spawn, you can, of course, fly yourself up there and rain fire down on anyone across the map. Or alternatively, if you're already holding this point and now you're defending them, you can jump straight up onto this rooftop. You can jump straight up onto this rooftop and do your business. Busan Mekabase. You would think with the entire map being interior, there'd be no options, but that is not true. If you're being held right at the doorway here, and there's no way through, you sneak your way by here, and if you time it perfectly, and if you time it perfectly, you can jump straight up here and surprise them. Alternatively, you can access any of this high ground from the point by jumping up there, and of course, the opposite side. Busan Sanctuary. This map doesn't quite have as many options. However, if they're not paying attention to you, don't pay attention to me. Shit over there. Shit over there. Not me.
Oh, you said don't.
Shoot over there.
Said don't pay attention.
And if they're not paying attention to you over here, you can dive up over the top and land on their heads. Alternatively, if you're being held at this choke point, you can simply dive over this wall onto their heads. Circuit Royale. This is honestly one of my favorite on-run shortcut maps, because if they're holding that high ground like they always do, you just ignore them, come over here, and once you have both of your charges, you can actually jump this entire rooftop.
You can totally attempt to jump this rooftop.
You can actually jump this entire rooftop. Or if you're not feeling super cool and fancy, she can also just, you know, reach the high ground normally. Alternatively, as you make your way down the map, most players will be holding from up there. You want to come around here to cover where they don't see you and won't suspect you. You jump, land on their heads, and win the game.
You lack resilience.
Alternatively, on last point, there's a couple things you can do, although mildly less creative. You can make it to basically all the high grounds, like so. You can also make it up to this high ground. And finally, on the very end of the objective, you can obviously reach any of this high ground. Colosseo. Colosseo has a few different cool spots. Obviously, it's symmetrical either way, but you can get onto this high ground, jump scare your opponent, and obviously same thing goes for this bridge. I don't know how useful it would be, but you can also jump over this wall and surprise attack whoever might be down there. And that's pretty much it for the normal stuff. However, if you're willing to use your ultimate, things get kind of insane. For example, if you're coming from your spawn and the fight is happening all the way on the other side of the map, don't go that way. Instead, come over here, and you can immediately show up. 1 dash, 2 dash, ultimate. Dorado. On Dorado first point, when your defenders are inevitably standing up on this high ground, you can secretly engage them through here. Just hop up from the back, do your business, and then run away. Really good for honestly just building a bunch of ult charge, even if you don't get any kills. And you can basically just rinse and repeat from the front or the back. Or of course, if they're holding that high ground, you can pretty easily jump up in their face. You just have a little bit less cover. If you're willing to use both your dashes, which I wouldn't recommend because you should always keep one for running away, you can actually get all the way up there if there's a annoying Widowmaker. Just takes 2 dashes, and then you do your business. It is also possible with 1, but you have to come from here, and usually you're not standing there. Another shortcut you can take if the fight is happening right at the end of first point, you can come over here, and you can actually jump over this wall and surprise anyone on the other side. This one's a little bit more for vanity rather than practicality, but you can jump all the way around this side of the map, which, I mean, that's kind of cool. Once you get into second point, you have a surprising amount of options. Obviously, there's stairs you can take to go and kill your enemy, but why would you do that when you can fly? So long as you're starting from this higher up point, you can dash directly onto the top, do a bunch of damage, and even run away. That will be great for building ult charge or getting a cheeky little pick. Surprise, motherfucker.
I'm almost dying.
And what I think is really cool, you can actually cross this entire gap just in case you're on the wrong high ground. And on last point, as I'm sure you guessed, you can reach the high ground. Simple jump right on top of the people that are trying to kill you. Try not to die, and then inevitably fail and try again. Or one of my favorite things to do, that I do with pretty much any hero with mobility, is just jump over this wall and pop your ultimate on the final point. Eichenwalde. You might be surprised, but coming out of spawn, you can actually skip, like, pretty much everything. So long as you hop on top of this little thing, you can jump over this roof. 1 dash, get you up here, hold it, try and get your cooldown back as much as possible before dashing once more and landing on any unsuspecting people on the other side. It can take you pretty much all the way to the point. Even more so if you pop your ultimate, of course. Interestingly, you can actually do it from the opposite side as well, as a defender. So if you want to surprise the enemy at the very start of the game, or somewhere in the middle, it doesn't really matter, you just jump on top of this little dead robot, and you only need 1 dash to make it over this entire roof, leaving you plenty of mobility to get stuff done. Alternatively, if you want to go on a massive flank, you can actually just skip this entire section completely by coming around here, starting off of this staircase, go 1 dash, and 2nd dash. Now you're probably going to want to chill here for a minute, wait for your cooldowns to come back, and then as soon as they're ready, sneak around the back, whichever side you want, and kill the unexpected Freya. Moving into second point, there's a couple cool ways to surprise your enemy. You have to come up here first, and then 1 more dash to make it the rest of the way. God dang it. Another flank route you can do, because they're seemingly endless on Eichenwalde, is if you come over on this side, you can actually surprise attackers that are on the very highest of grounds. Just come up to these stairs, somewhere near the top. One dash to get over the top, and one more dash to... Where the hell did you go? You can use one dash to go over the top, and one more to meet your opponent head-on. Alternatively, on defense, you could basically do the exact opposite thing and surprise them from this side. Come to the highest point, one dash over the top of this roof, and you can either go right into the fight, or I like to use my ultimate. Oh my Jesus, okay, I'm fine. This is something I've been desperately wanting to try myself. But if your opponents are fighting over on the bridge right there, you can come down here, jump up, pop your ultimate, and surprise everybody with instant death. Or a slow burning death.
On the bridge again. Being left alone to be shot again.
Oh, that was nice. Last point on Eichenwalde isn't nearly as interesting. However, you can jump onto the high grounds quite easily with one dash. And of course, the same thing on the opposite side. And with that, Eichenwalde is finally done. Esperanca. For this map, it's not nearly as interesting as Eichenwalde. However, there is a couple things. You can, of course, get onto this bridge from either side to kill whoever's up there. You can jump into this window. Once you start using your ultimate, though, things get so much cooler, and your possibilities are basically endless. One of them is if you're fighting and the point is kind of over there, or it's just reaching over there. Hide behind here for cover. One dash, get as far as you can, pop the ult, and drop right on top of their heads. Nobody ever sees it coming. And even more absurdly, you can literally cross, like, the entire map. If you're coming back from spawn and the fight is happening right at the very end, it takes all your abilities, but you can do it. You come up here, dash once, dash twice, pop your ult, and fly all the way to the end. Which is kind of ridiculous. Hanaoka. For the interior of this map, it's not quite so interesting, but it is worth noting that you can get to a couple nice high ground spots, such as up there, where your enemy will probably be perching. Or you can do a nice little surprise attack over the top of this little ledge to whoever is on the other side. For the second point, you have a few more options. One that I think is quite cool is you can actually jump over this entire roof to surprise the Freya or whoever's on the high ground. Takes both your dashes, but you can get right in there, use that E, and destroy. Or you can just be boring and, you know, do it from ground level. Very easy hop. Where? Ah! On last point, there is virtually nothing going on here, I'll be honest. But in theory, you can jump on this car and dash yourself over top of this roof and look cool. However, alternatively, you can just press the shoot button. Havana. Na 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 na. Half of my heart is in Havana, on first point, if you're attacking, you can come from the little side corridor and sneak up on the attackers on high ground from here. If they're up on that high ground, it's a little bit trickier because you can't really engage them safely without being shot. But if you can maneuver your way close enough, you do have enough height to reach them. Up on this high ground, you have the exact same issue. It is difficult to even get close, but if you can manage it, you do have enough height. Oh, crap. You do have enough height to make it straight up to the top. Coming into second point, if your attacker is standing over on that ledge, you don't want to come from here. So you're going to make your way around to safety, and you can actually jump scare them over top of these giant barrels. One dash, all it takes, you're right on their head, and they're dead. And once the battle reaches the end of second point, if you're feeling fancy, you can make sure you have both your charges, come over the top of here, and hopefully one-shot absolutely everybody in the vicinity. Before they one-shot you, good lord. On the final point of the map, your options are a little bit more limited. However, if you make your way up to here, you can sneak your way around the side and dive bomb her before she can react. Hollywood. On first point of Hollywood, the attackers are always holding the high ground right up there. However, you don't want to run straight at them, so what you can do is hop on this little flower bed, and you can actually jump this entire roof and land onto their high ground, which is kind of crazy, actually. Quick editor's note, this one is still possible after the nerf, but it is significantly harder. And you'll likely want to use your second dash to get up onto the actual roof. Alternatively, I would honestly just jump, once you get a successful jump over the roof, I would just hit my ult, like, onto the point. That's really the best way to get this done now. Or, as always, you can be boring, and if you're down here, you can just hop right up. And once you get yourself up here, whether you do that with a dash or just take the stairs, you can actually get all the way to that high ground with just one more dash and clean up the house.
I'm like, what, are you coming over this roof?
You're not supposed to know.
I guessed.
Alternatively, if you're playing defense on this map, you can actually basically do the same trick over that rooftop but backwards. If you want to go kind of aggro, you can actually jump this whole thing from the ground. And I'd probably pop my ult, to be honest, but you don't need it. Moving into second point, if you start from this tiny cute little ledge, you can, just barely. Psych, the update ruined it. Obviously, you can no longer access literally any of this high ground on second point, except, I guess, these little roofs. And also the jail, but come on, bro. Come on, bro, why'd you do this to me? Moving into last point, surprisingly, she can actually make it up to that high ground fairly easily. Quick hop. And the rest of Hollywood is ruined. But that was the last one. We are up to modern day now. And thank God, I was starting to run out of tears. Wait, hold on, I lied. I found 2 more with the nerf. As a defender, you can do a quick little parkour off of this box and you can still make it to that high ground fairly quickly. And as an attacker, if for some reason you're all the way on this side already, you can jump off these hay bales onto either one of these rooftops. It's something. We can hold on to something. Ilios Well. For this one, there's a couple cool things you can do. One, at the very start of the game, if you make your way up here at the start, you can actually skip this entire roof and land on unsuspecting people on the other side. One jump like that, slide over the top, find your mark. Alternatively, if you're attacking from the left side of Ilios, you can jump over this little dome and catch anybody off guard on that side. Surprise, motherfreaker! And if you don't want to go right in the attack and instead want to go to a different high ground, you can actually come from the same spot and make it all the way up here. And then, you know, kill people that are there too. You could also jump scare your opponents by just jumping straight over this wall from the well. So any unsuspecting people over there, one hop, pop your ult, or just go in with a combo, doesn't matter. Both work. Ilios Lighthouse. First and foremost, if you start off of this high ground, you can, much like the well, jump over this roof and land on any people coming straight down that very common choke point. And this is a fun one. If you start from either up here or also on that platform, but I think this one's cooler, you can jump over all of this and surprise anyone over here from the top. I would personally pop my ult in that situation, but hey, that works too. You can also just very easily access any of the high ground on this map from any of the high grounds or the floor, so very easy, great mobility. And oh my god, I just found this one last second, but you can actually get from here all the way to the point with your ultimate, and it's really cool. If you jump off of this potted plant, perfectly leap onto this roof, you can then use your second dash to perfectly leap over all of these roofs, and not fail, perfectly jump over this roof. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry. Perfectly jump over this roof, slide your way, and ult directly onto point. I cannot wait to do that in a real match and kill everybody. Ilios Ruins. First things first, we have something directly out of spawn. You use one dash to jump on that, next dash to get on this roof, which you can now use to go snipe people, or you can go even farther, pop your ult, and get directly onto point. Or for you cheapskates who don't want to use one dash to get up there first, you can just walk over to this rock, and you only need one dash to get on the main roof. Which actually does leave you one dash to do something like this.
I wasn't ready.
You can also jump onto like any of the smaller high grounds from the floor, such as this one and this one. You're hiding in the bush? Jesus, that was horrifying. Junkertown. As you might expect, you can access all of the high ground on first point with one dash. Okay, that combo was clean though. And as a defender, if you're being shot by pesky little attackers hiding in that corner, simply come over here. They won't think anything of it. They won't think anything of it. And you can actually jump right over this roof and come out of absolutely nowhere to kill anyone on the other side. It also works as an attacker going towards that way, but less practical in my opinion. Making our way towards second point, if you want to jump up into the high ground window, just make sure you're on this slightly raised part of the ground and you can jump straight up. In second point, much like the first, all of the high ground is accessible to you. You can jump up here, and here, and here, And you guessed it, right here. As for more advanced things on second point, if you do everything just right, I'll be honest, it's really hard. You jump onto this sign here, and you can just barely make it over this roof and alt anybody down here. I can see this being very useful early on second point, and I'm excited to try it, I'll be real. Moving on to third point, you can actually reach all of this high ground. Pretty simple, but all of it is reachable. Oh, that was close. All of it is killable, and that's pretty much all there is to do on third point. King's Row. You'll notice a theme with these maps, but Anran can very easily reach every single high ground on first point of King's Row. My favorite being this one. You can jump over the top. There's probably not going to be anyone there, but you can use it as high ground for this, and you can chain it to all the other high grounds. And unfortunately, since the nerf on launch, Anran can no longer jump up into that window, but you can still do it if you want to use both your dashes. Moving on to second point, if the cart is still in the middle of the choke point, or anywhere along this stretch, you can actually do a surprise attack alt, but it will use kind of all your abilities, so be aware of that. But you can hide around this corner, one dash over this roof, one more over this roof, and rain fire from above. I think that's really cool. So long as you don't die. And much more reasonably from this same position, you can actually jump over this roof and attack anyone on this side. Once again, I love finishing things with ults, but you don't have to. And this should go without saying at this point, but for the sake of clarity, she can reach any high ground on second point as well. One jump, find your attacker, eliminate. Same goes for every other spot. And finally, if you're looking for a last-minute cross-map ultimate like I love so much, if you start from up here, which you can access through stairs, you can use both your dashes to cross this entire second point. One dash here, cancel, one dash here, slide over the roof, and get all the way to the other side. Moving on to third point, if you want to get a last-second ultimate right as the cart is reaching its end, you simply take a leap of faith off of this cliff, and two dashes right up here, and finish them all off. It's important on your way under that you cancel your dash early, otherwise you might not make it out. And once again, to the surprise of nobody, she can reach the high grounds everywhere here. One dash, kill, kill, you get the picture. And it's also worth noting that as a defender, if you're coming out of spawn, you can jump straight up through this window and either kill the person there, or just save yourself a bunch of time. God damn it. Lijang Tower Gardens. Not a whole lot to do in this one, I'll be honest with you. However, if you want to get directly to the point, it only takes one little dashy through that window, and you're already here. Could come in clutch. And just because this one was boring and useless, I discovered something kind of crazy and arguably also useless. If you use both your dashes, you can go under the map. One through here, pop your ultimate, confuse the hell out of the enemy because they have no idea where you're coming from, and drop on the bridge. Where'd you go? Oh. Well, that's a way to confuse you.
No!
Give up!
No!
Give up!
No!
Accept your fate!
Never! No!
This is sad to watch. Oh, you made it! I'm so proud of you.
You really dropped the ball.
Lijang Tower Night Market. If your opponents are holding you right in the doorway off of your spawn, you can actually ult them from the side. Believe it or not, Anran can make this jump. One dash around the building, second dash around the building, and ult the unsuspecting people on the other side. And if you don't have your ultimate, you can actually still make it to the other side, just barely. Make sure you don't hit yourself off of that little sign, two dashes, hug the corner, and you're here. Now you can just kind of sneak your way to point, or right up to the enemies that are waiting right there. Another really thing you could... Another really thing? What? Another really cool thing you can do on this map is actually jump through that window directly onto point. However, you do have to time it really well, or else you just don't make it, but I'm awesome at the game, so of course, I made it. And once again, it's worth keeping in mind that you can get onto all the high ground, just like every other map. Lijang Tower Control Center. This one has almost nothing, it's all interior, kinda sad. But there is one thing you can do if you're being held at your little choke point at spawn. If they're not paying attention to you, you can sneak around the side and clean them up.
Or get cleaned up, sorry.
Also an option, Midtown. Midtown has a surprising amount of options. Namely, you can obviously jump over this train from both attack and defense, and land on whoever's on the opposing high ground. Also on first point, if you can make it, wow, nice shot. If you can make your way around the side here without being noticed, or even with, it doesn't matter that much, honestly, you can jump straight up into that window. It's easier from the taxi. Moving on to second point, if you have a little bit of time before this door actually opens and you're in trouble, you can jump yourself up to there. So it's easiest from this little cop car, but it is also possible from the ground. And once you're up here and the payload starts moving forward, you can surprise them from above. As an attacker moving into second point, you can actually jump straight over this and onto the high ground that they inevitably will be standing on. It only takes one little dash. Keeping in mind you're putting yourself in immense danger. I would pop an E, do some damage, and then dash yourself away. And it's also possible and even easier from defender's side if you want to drop on the attackers. Lastly, on second point, one other thing you can do as a defender is just get really quick to that high ground. Sometimes the attackers will be holding you off there when they get far enough, so you can just jump once up and, you know, do your thing. As an attacker, moving into third point, unfortunately, you can't get up to the high ground in one dash, but you can do it in two if you really like to. Quick there, and now you're in the fight. As a defender, it's much easier. You can just come up to this little area, and it only takes one little hop to get yourself up top. One cool thing I discovered coming directly out of spawn as the defender, you can actually get up to that very same high ground incredibly quickly. Take one little peek around this corner, one dash on this pillar thingy, one more dash, you can get all the way over, and, well, okay, I guess you're one high ground short, but when your cooldown comes back, one more dash, and you are here. And the fun part, actually, once you're up here, you can even get up here. I don't know why you would want to. Doesn't seem beneficial, but it's kind of cool. And if you're wanting a quicker option to actually get to that high ground with two dashes, you can just make your way around here, and you can go quick double fire, one on this roof, and then right onto the next. Nepal Shrine. From here, if you're coming out of your spawn and need to quickly get to point, with your ultimate, I should add, you just do one dash onto this little roof, and then you can dash over that, and dive bomb yourself directly onto point. Apart from that, there's a couple of quick little jumps you can do, like you can jump over this little wall and surprise anybody there. Or you can run away to this high ground. Oh, just me! And this is definitely my favorite one. If you're starting from point, obviously you'd have to already control it. You can hop onto this little pillar with one dash, and hop over this roof with the other to land on anybody on the other side. Nepal Village. This one has so many cool options. One of them is starting from this little ledge, you can jump over this roof and surprise any of the attackers on the opposite side. Another option, if you're willing to use both of your dashes, is you can come over this roof to surprise them on the higher ground. And this one, you'd probably want to use your ult, considering you're going all in. For your little more basic options, Anran can, of course, reach all of the high ground on this map, including up here at the peak. One little hop, surprise anyone who might be up here, or just use it to get a better angle for your next flank. If you're not in control of the point, you have a few similar options, like you can use two dashes to get over that roof, or you can do something like this, where if you start from up here, you can do one dash over that little roof, and then ult either directly on point, or any problematic attackers on this high ground. Nepal Sanctum. If you manage to get yourself a team kill, you can actually make your way up on this top, perch, and then as you wait for them to come out of spawn, hit them with the ult. They never expect it, and it's probably going to be a bad idea, but hey, I want to hit a clip like that. I hope you do too. There's not much else to do in this map, honestly, but one other little thing you can do is if you're already on the point, you can hop over this side, surprise anyone there. Or you can obviously do the same thing from the other side onto point. And then this little one. Finally, if you come outside here, you have a nice little flank route to surprise any enemies over there. Just takes one dash to get to this side door, and anyone over here is dead meat. New Junk City. If you're starting from this point, and you're coming from your spawn, you can very quickly get over there with all of your abilities, granted, but one dash on top of this platform, and then you can go over this roof and surprise anyone on point with an ult. Alternatively, as a defender, you can get your revenge. You just have to kind of jump onto these little rocket piles, and then you only need one dash to get over that roof, and you can ult anyone else coming from spawn. If you're on this objective, you can come from here where you're running and jump over this little pile of junk, and you're right on point immediately. If you're in a rush in overtime, the quickest method to get to point from your spawn, one jump here, just like the last one jump here, and then you can ult onto everybody in there. Finally, if you're trying to come from this interior kind of middle section, you can jump over this little hop and be right on point again. Moving into the middle interior point, less options, but of course you can jump over this like dome shape and then land on anyone else in the middle, give yourself a bit of protection. In this point, there's once again very few options as we're inside, but you can actually jump right up to point from the bottom, and it's a nice little surprise attack. And finally, we have this objective, and once again, because everything's interior in this map, just really one thing, which is you can jump onto this high ground. That's kind of it. New Queen Street. At the very start, when the bot hasn't moved yet, you can come through this little window and jump over the little trolley, whatever you want to call that, and land on everybody on the other side. Moving farther along in the point, you can definitely jump up to these windows, but not from the flat ground. You have to be at least a little bit higher up, like right here. Numbani. Once you make your way to the first objective, all of this high ground is accessible to you so long as you're all the way up here. You can't reach it from the lower road, but any of this is very easy. One dash. Same also works if you want to go on a little flank route where you're less expected. You can jump onto the high ground right from here and then surprise anyone that's holding that door. And one last thing, although I truly can't think of a practical scenario for it, you can go all the way around this side of the map with both of your dashes. Moving into the payload section of the map, you can do little jumps to the high ground like this, get yourself a good angle, or kill anybody who might be already perching up here. Or you can just jump directly up to that high ground from anywhere on the road here, just not quite that section. Finally, onto the third point. You can jump onto this high ground right here. One last little thing you can do as an attacker here is reach any of this high ground and surprise anyone who maybe might be perching up here. Oasis University. If you have a pesky attacker holding that high ground right by point, you can actually come around this side and jump scare them when they least expect it.
I believe I can fly. I believe.
It can also be done in reverse, although probably less helpful in most scenarios. And finally, if you end up getting stuck in this little hole in the middle, you do have enough verticality to jump your way out. Oasis City Center. If you want to get up to this high ground, it is very particular, and I messed it up 5 times before getting it right. However, you can perfectly jump right onto that high ground. Oh, I did it again. Nice. Another high ground you can reach is the one right in the middle. However, I recommend doing it over this wall so that nobody sees you, and you have a nice bit of cover before you do your thing. One of the other things you can do is my favorite thing to do with literally any mobility hero. You can jump over this tiny, tiny little rooftop here and surprise anybody coming from the other side. And finally, if you're like me and you enjoy last-second ultimates to save the point in overtime, you want to walk out of spawn, save your dashes until you get here, once on that pillar, once more towards this roof, and then pop your ultimate directly on the point. Oasis Gardens. On the objective here, if you're wanting to get up to the high ground, it is really easy. Just one dash, and you're automatically up. Ooh, good move. Nice. Oh my god, she's moving! She's moving! Neither of us can hit each other. This is kind of sad.
Okay, I'll be done now. We're both...
We familiarized ourselves enough.
Yeah.
And just because I want to throw in a last-ditch ultimate, because I'm obsessed, if you come from the left side coming out of spawn, stand on this pad, you can do 2 jumps over this little roof and ult onto point. That way you get some cover. Oh my god, you're getting too good at this game. Paraiso. First things first, coming onto the first objective, you can very easily jump onto the defender's high ground. You can also reach the high ground on the objective. As a defender on first point, if you're feeling extra spicy, you can go on the offensive and take one jump over this roof off that platform, and then surprise anybody at the bottom before they can even get to your point. Okay, we're good, we're fine. And if you're in the mood to go all out as an attacker, you can walk up these stairs here, so you come to this platform, and take both of your dashes over this roof to ult everybody onto point. Moving into second point, as you come out of spawn, you have a nice little flank route you can take. If you want to be quick, you take one dash onto here, or alternatively just take the stairs so you don't waste a dash. And then it only takes one more to go around here, and you're already on the high ground on the other side of the map. As for the rest of second point, you can't quite make it to most of the rooftops from the ground. However, once you get onto one of them, such as this one, you can then chain to literally every other high ground on this map very easily. And of course, we couldn't leave second point at Paraiso without a last-ditch ultimate. If you walk out of spawn onto the higher ground here, you take one dash onto this roof, and one more dash over top of all this, and you can ult directly onto the final point. Burn. Oh, I deserve that. On last point, as you might expect, you can reach all of the high ground in this area with one little hop, anywhere you'd like to go. That was one of my cleanest. And lastly, this one's mostly for style points, you can also do a last minute ultimate to the point. Starting from here, you take two dashes over top this giant tube, and then ult everybody at the end. Rialto. On first point, if you want to take a flank down this right side as an attacker, you hop on this little pillar and you can jump actually over this roof and stop anyone on this side with still an extra dash to spare. And of course, you can also reach any of these high grounds from the ground. Nice and easy. In second point, once again, all of these high grounds are very easily reachable. Fun little shortcut that I like to do is come up these stairs, and you actually have this little wall here that you can jump straight over and land near the end. As a defender, if you're starting from this staircase here, you can jump over this roof and get a nice little drop on the enemies here when they don't expect you. Oh. I'm sorry, I didn't know you were that upset with me. As a defender, coming out of your spawn, defending the second point there, you'd come up on this little ledge, and you can actually jump over this roof here and land with your ult, ideally, on anyone without to make it the rest of the way. On third point, there is practically nothing you can do because there's no high ground of any kind on this section of the map. However, I did accidentally discover this thing. So maybe, I guess, if you're attacking and you got a team wipe, you know, you're about to win, you want to humiliate the enemy, take a sec to jump from here, up on top of this, and hide up here until you see them, and then rain terror down from above. I think that'd be fun. Oh, I forgot to kill you. There we go.
You forgot to cue me.
Route 66. Coming straight out of the attacker spawn on first point, you want to come out the right side door, and you can actually jump right on top of all of this, and start spamming your bullets to any attackers that may be over here or on top. And if you want to get right up to them, you can, of course, make this jump from the low ground. Once you get farther along, you can, if you're already on this high ground, jump right across to this roof. Or it's also possible straight from the ground. Oh, what you doing down there, fool? As a defender on first point, one thing you can do is really easily jump up onto that pillar from this roof, and then get yourself some free ult charge as they walk out the door. And maybe you're gonna pick. If you want to get up on top of this roof onto second point, you have a couple options. One, if you're coming from this side, you can just make it onto this lower ledge with one dash, and then you can do a little bit of parkour to jump around the side. Or as a backup option, coming from this side, you can actually jump right up to the roof without any parkour necessary. As a defender on second point, if you're looking for a sneaky little ultimate as they're coming out, you can come onto this little platform up here and one dash over this roof to unexpectedly land on anyone at the bottom. And finally, I'm sure it goes without saying, but you can reach any of the high ground on the second point with one dash. Bonus points if you knew this rock existed, which I did not. Thank you, Emily. On to third point, once again, you can reach any of the high ground with a single dash. As a defender, if you want to be a little sneaky, you can jump up onto this pillar, and then as people are coming, drop down on their heads when they least expect it. And apart from the obvious high ground jumps that you can make, like here and here, one thing that nobody ever sees coming is this little platform here. When they're coming up out of their defensive point last second, you can jump down on their heads and destroy everybody! Runasapi. Something really cool I just discovered you can do is jump over this entire rooftop. Now, I would love to use my ult, but if you don't have it because you're probably at the start of the game, that's okay too. But it does take both your dashes. It is easier if you start from this tiny little garbage can. You make both your dashes, cancel at the peak, and you can just get over this roof and then drop on everyone at the bottom. Keeping in mind that you have literally no mobility. So, I suggest an ult. In the other parts of the start here, unfortunately you can't quite clear this wall from the ground unless you're standing on this already raised part from the back. Once you start moving farther down, you do have less options. However, you can surprise attack over this little sign if it's ever necessary with one little jump. Or if you're coming from this side of the objective, you can do a quick little sneak attack, I guess, over this little blue barrel, for example. I messed up my combo. I didn't notice that you nod as you burned. Should you subscribe to Philquant? And of course, all of these high grounds in this area are also accessible with one little dash. If you're trying to get up into this little window at the very end, the literal only way you can do it with only one dash is if you're a defender coming up from this side, you can do it with one dash to get up there.
Nope.
One dash to get up there.
Nope.
God damn it, this is hard. One dash to get up there. And then probably pop your ult to get everybody else on the other side. Anran doesn't really excel from a high ground like that. And one final thing you could do as a last straw, you can come out this door as a defender and surprise over this bush, just so they suspect it a little bit less and you might even be able to get a pick out of it. Samoa Beach. Apart from the obvious little high ground jumps you can make here, you can actually jump over this roof. Not from the tall middle point, unfortunately there's an annoying invisible wall there, but you can go over just to the side. It takes both your dashes, slide over this little hump, and land on anybody on the other side. I doubt anyone would expect an Anran flying over the roof. There's not much else to do here because it's a rather small map. However, there is a little thing here. If you're coming up on the left side, you can jump over this little hump and you surprise anyone who might be waiting right here. And this one, I'm sure you guys can figure out for yourselves, but it's worth mentioning that you can jump over this little wall in the interior section to dive on anyone on the other side. Samoa Volcano. Right from the start, if you're being held at that like first little choke point after the point's captured, believe it or not, you can make it over this thing with one jump and then hit a fat ultimate. One little hop like that, land on everyone bothering you. Just be careful not to use your ult by accident on that little thing that I got stuck on. Where did you go? You can stand on that rock? What the? What is with you and finding rocks today?
I like rocks. You like my rock?
I do like your rock.
Yay.
Unfortunately, there's not much else to this version of Samoa. However, for the sake of being thorough, you can jump over these little walls and land on point. Samoa Downtown. Coming right out of spawn here, there is a really cool trick you can do for the only giant roof in the game that doesn't have an invisible wall, which I am in love with. You can make it over with both your dashes. 1, 2, and then pop your ultimate on point for a last second overtime save. Because I am obsessed with those. And to my utter disbelief, you can also jump over that roof for a secondary option. So let's say you came out of spawn and went far left, you can surprise everybody on point through here. Takes both your dashes, of course, but you slide right over and can ult anyone back there as well. There's no excuses not to hit a last second overtime ult. And if you want to be a little bit more boring, you can obviously jump over or on any of the other walls in this map with one dash. Shambali Monastery. Coming out of spawn as an attacker on first point, if you come to your right here, there's a very easy flank route just over this little wall to either start sneaking over to people on the high ground or kill anybody who's already waiting. As a defender on first point, believe it or not, you can make it over this entire roof with a single dash if you want to surprise land on the payload. One dash like that, slide yourself over and land on anyone on the other side. As an attacker, you can do a similar thing from over here. However, I would say it's not as effective because it does require both your dashes. And they're probably going to hear you coming. Oh my god! I swear you were invisible for a second. And if you were coming to the end of first point and you were being held by some very annoying attackers up in that window, you can do something incredibly over the top, but very cool. If you make your way around to this side, up on this high ground, you can jump over that rooftop and land on them with your ultimate, granted. It takes both of your dashes and you have to be pretty accurate. But you can pop your ult and land on anybody up there. Holy Jesus, nicely done. Or as a defender, you can do the exact same thing, but with only one dash, which means it is arguably more helpful. If you're just coming from your spawn, you can jump over that roof with just one dash and land on anybody in the payload down there. Stop freaking getting good at the game, okay? As an attacker, if you're trying to get up in that window without your ultimate, it only works from this little ramp area. Otherwise, you don't quite have enough height. And on second point, you have much less options. However, there is this very well-known flank route on here, which you can get with only one dash. And if they're not expecting you, you can sneak around the edge. As an attacker, onto second point, onto third point, there is this little flank route around the right side, which obviously you can do with one dash, and come around this side. And from that same spot, you can take it one step further onto third point, over that little hole in the wall. And people still don't really seem to know that that exists. Also on third point as an attacker, if you have a flair for the dramatic, you can flank around this right side and hop over this little wall to pop your ultimate on anyone at the bottom. Suravasa. In this first interior point, you do have enough height to get up here with just one dash. Take control of that high ground. Over in this section of Suravasa, there's kind of even less you can do, except, you know, reach all of these areas, but no real opportunity for a nice flank. Wow, oh my god, I'm quitting. On this point, you do have a few more options. If you're coming in from this side, you can reach this high ground with just one jump. And even get all the way to point with an ultimate if you're, you know, trying to fight last second. Another thing you can do if you sneak around here, which I cannot believe I didn't know existed until literally just now, you can jump over this entire roof, and there's even a hole right in the middle to drop directly down onto them. And that is honestly so cool. In this objective, there's a very similar epic thing that you can do. If you come from this right-hand side, or left-hand side, depending on where you're coming from, you can actually jump from over here, and there's a little hole in this roof to land down on the objective once again with your ultimate. You can, of course, also make it up to this little high ground here that people like to hang out on. Just one dash is needed. Finally, on this last objective of Suravasa, you can jump over either of these walls. And I would just recommend one dash and then hit your ult. Otherwise, you will need two dashes to make it over the wall. One final cool thing you could do on this objective is jump over this wall from this interior section. And you can jump scare anyone on this side. With an ultimate or with a combo. Up to you. I just kind of missed, but very possible. Throne of Anubis. In the first objective here, you can actually get into that window with just one jump. The only caveat, you do have to start from this little platform on the right side, but that's not much of a problem. Just come over here, one leap. If there's anyone in that window, you can, of course, delete them, or you can use this as a nice little high ground advantage for yourself. From the other side, it is way easier. Another thing in this same point, if you have a person holding the high ground right there, you can sneak attack them over this side and get the drop on them before they can react. And just for the sake of being thorough, you can obviously jump on these little pillars with just one dash. On to second point, you don't have quite as much to work with, but you can reach all the high grounds with just one dash, even that one. And of course, this window over here, or this bridge. Nice and easy. And as you're leaving the second point... Excuse me? And as you're leaving the second point, you can actually jump up to that high ground, but you do need to be starting from this ledge. Just one dash. Get yourself a nice angle to the point, or kill whoever was waiting. On the third point of Anubis, if you're feeling sneaky, you can actually come straight down here and hop onto the point through the bottom. And this works from both sides of the objective, but you can jump over both of these things in one dash to land directly onto the point. And same goes for this side, it's just a little tighter. You can jump over both of those, god damn it. You can jump over both of those with just one dash. And this one I would argue is less practical, but if you come around the right side of spawn, you can kind of sneak attack over this side and hit your ult on point with a little bit less attention drawn to yourself. And if you're feeling especially aggro on the defense here, you can also jump right onto that high ground from earlier with one jump over that wall. Helps you get a good angle to poke at them from far away, and then just dash right back. Watchpoint Gibraltar. Keeping in mind that this is the new version of Watchpoint Gibraltar, where everything is destroyed, so there is some differences. You can jump onto this bridge from the attacker's first point, either from the top, or straight from the bottom, provided you're starting on this little ledge here.
I like pressing buttons.
Like pressing
Whee!
my buttons. So glad this video is almost over. Or if you're feeling a little bit more brazen and to the point, you can jump straight up to these high ground without any assistance and just one dash. One last thing you can do as a defender on this map, there is a little window in this wall, so if you have someone attacking up there and they don't see you, you can sneak up on them through that window. Unfortunately, at the end of verse point here, Anran cannot make it onto this high ground. She's just too short. And same thing goes for this side. But what she can do is jump from here onto that roof, and then you can come around and, you know, kind of go the long way, I guess, and then you can make it onto this high ground. Although, what you can do, since the new update to Watchpoint Gibraltar, there's this little gap in the window, and you can make it up to that high ground with just one dash, if so necessary. On to second point, Anran has the same problem, and it's really annoying me. However, she cannot reach this high ground from ground level. You can obviously jump in this little box first and then make it, but not as good of a surprise factor. And that does include this high ground. However, it doesn't matter anymore because the new Watchpoint Gibraltar has a walking path, so you're chilling, you're fine. And if you get yourself on top of the plane through whatever means necessary, you can jump over this little thing here, despite the new update blocking it, and find anyone on the other side, or just use it as an interesting high ground advantage. And, oh my god, guys, breaking news! On the end of second point, she can reach the high ground from the ground. Takes one little dash, and you can get up there. I can't find you, I'm ignoring you. Or, you can get all the way up here as well. One last thing you can do on second point here is probably not super helpful, but I think it's kind of cool. There's this little gap between the plane and the storage, and you can jump straight through it to anyone waiting on the other side. Moving on to the final objective of Watchpoint Gibraltar, unsurprisingly, we have more high grounds that Anran can't reach, but it is possible to get up there if you come to a higher ground first. Or alternatively, there is boxes here that you can actually jump on before jumping onto that high ground, and then you're good. And once you're up here, it only takes one more dash to jump scare anyone on the bridge. Or your other option to getting to that bridge, you can do it from down here, except you have to start on this little raised platform first. Oh, you escaped, nice. One of the cooler things about third point for Anran is if you come over here, walk down this way, you can skip around the entire side of the map with just one dash. So one like that, land here, do some business, or just pop your ult at the end of the map. Always a pleasure recording with you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you hit record?
Yes. And if you want other ways to surprise people on the last objective, you can start from up here with just one dash like I showed earlier, and they will be expecting you over this side, but what they won't expect is jumping over this side of the roof and popping your ultimate. It's all about the element of surprise. Oh, you almost got out of that. And as a defender, you can do the same thing that I showed earlier, which is jump around this side of the map with still just one dash. To surprise, oh my god, no! Swear it's possible. To surprise anyone on the other side. And finally, if you'd like to jump scare your opponents as a defender, you can start from this bridge and, of course, jump over that wall to scare anyone down to the bottom.